Welcome to our channel. On this episode, we focused on the digital asset known as XRP. We gather videos and information from the web, and if you stick around, we are going to share it with you. So stay tuned for news and updates.
So for Lloyds Bank, there's two key sets of dates. 2022, the Target 2 migration will go live, when over one weekend we go from MT messages on the Friday to MX messages on the Monday. A big bang approach. And at the same time, the whole industry will begin the CBPR Plus migration from MT to MX, which is really key because that is when we have to start receiving ISO messages. Lloyds Bank will also start sending ISO messages at that time, although that's obviously optional as part of the SWIFT rules. The second date is the revised Bank of England CHAPS migration, which will now be in April 2023. This will mean that for 5 months, between November 2022 and April 2023, where the UK local infrastructure will truncate any enhanced data sent into the UK, a request will be sent out by all UK CHAPS participants to their FI clients not to send enhanced data to UK beneficiaries during this period.
Money across borders faster, more efficiently. One thing we're very focused on is that it has taken a long time and a lot of work to put together the network that we have. And because we've done it the right way, we've chosen the right partners in the right markets that are trusted partners, that are well respected, on the right side of the authorities, AML, KYC, everything taken care of. And so you can't put that together overnight and offer a global product with payout in 70 plus countries just because you're flipping on a switch somewhere. And so I do think that's a competitive advantage. It's up to us to make sure that we're taking people on the journey of adoption as fast as possible. And so our biggest focus as a company around the RippleNet business is this OKR of volume. And we need to be driving volume of ODL through the system and opening new corridors, new countries. And one of the ways you do that, by the way, Zach, which we've not talked a lot about, is just the regulatory push around. We talked about Singapore as a good example of a place that's doing it right, but we also need to be everywhere in the world in the dialogue with regulators, educating, leaning forward, making sure they understand why this should be beneficial to them and their economies and ultimately their people. And if we can open up more markets, certainly this volume number continues to go the right way.
Like Switzerland and China all testing out the digital currencies. How are you gearing up for the disruption of money with central bank digital currencies? How will it change the way you and other banks operate in future?
Probably fundamentally. While we're not formally involved, no foreign banks are involved in the Chinese ECNY. I think we're as close to that as we can be to understand how that digital currency can be used for cross-border trade. Going back 5 years, we had digital currency underpinned trade finance and money settlement systems, and using as a medium of exchange, using things like Ripple's XRP, for example, as a medium to affect real-time cross-border payments.
You can do that with dollars.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're right. You can do it with Bitcoin. Actually, you can't do it with Bitcoin. You pay $50 for a $2 cup of coffee, a $50 transaction fee.
You don't know what it's going to cost you in 10 minutes.
That's exactly right.
There are some cryptos that are working with regulators and are working with banks.
I agree.
Ripple would be an example.
Ripple would
XRP.
be an example, right.
Now this is and I can imagine in the next 5 years, instead of us doing sterling against the dollar or sterling against yen and doing these kinds of transactions, we'll do sterling versus Ripple. And the reason being, dollar right now is a 2-day settlement. With something like Ripple, you could do settlement in seconds. And I think that there's a future there where the guy that's trading spot FX today will be trading spot FX against Ripple in the future, in the next 2 or 3 years. So I think that Ripple has a great future because it's right now supported by all the banks and by all the regulators.
And it has an elastic monetary base, right?
So well, if we take that and you go to the blockchain ledger, if you take that concept that you're discussing, I have no problem with it. I agree with it. But you're talking about money. You're talking about transaction, a medium of exchange. There has to be something behind it, and that's where I'm going to pull this conversation back to gold. There has to be some sort of reserve asset. The problem with fiat currencies right now is that they can print as much as they want, digitally or whatever. It's not tied to anything, and so as a result, the value of the money can be negated. It can be destroyed over time, and it is destroyed over time.
I think one of the biggest sales pitches that folks that enjoy Bitcoin talk about is the fact that it's finite, and yet you have a fork, And boom, here's another currency based off of this one. You have another fork, more currency, another fork, more currency.
The fact that it's finite
it's highly finite.
is actually one of the worst things about Bitcoin, and it shows that really smart developers and really smart engineers don't know anything about monetary economics. Because if you understand monetary economics, you don't want hyperinflation, you don't want money everywhere, but the money supply has to grow a little bit. As the economy is growing, if the money supply doesn't grow and the economy is growing, that's inherently deflationary. Each coin is going to get you more and more because you've capped it out. Well, if it's deflationary, if you look at, say, the dollar, M0, M1, M2, M3, et cetera, what you find is that most of the money in the world isn't really money, it's credit. Credit is what makes the world go round. People.
This is not financial advice, and by any means you should not take any advice from us. We have no financial background. This channel is strictly fun-based. So stay along for the ride, and if you like what you see, be free to like and subscribe.